What's up, everybody? This is JP Flaim from the Sports Junkies, and you are watching Ref the District.
What's up, guys? It's Ben Mahitch, former host of the Lockdown Wizards podcast. Currently, I contribute to the Bullets Forever, SB Nation, and Washington Wizards website. It's going to be a long road ahead for the Washington Wizards, but I'm always happy to talk Wizards hoops. And you're listening to Ref the District.
Here we go.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District's Wizards Preview. I'm Nathan, that's the Stoner, and that's Trev. And we're bringing you all the good content for the Washington Wizards. Make sure that you like this video, comment on this video. Let us know that you want some more Wizards content, and we'll bring it to you. We'll, of course, be bringing you this season preview, a season ending, and a mid-season review to talk about that. But if you want more content, you got to let us know. Any breaking news, we got that covered as well. The Wizards re-signed Bradley Beal. And Trev, I know that you're not a big fan of that. Stoner says you got a bird in hand, you keep him. And you guys know how I feel about it as well. Let's go ahead and get right into the action, though. And we're going to be bringing up one of Washington's big fans here from the Junkies. It's John Paul Flaim, JP, as he's well known, here in with Ref the District. One more time, we appreciate you jumping on here with us, JP.
What's up, boys? I mean, I have to do it. You guys sent me a coffee mug, so.
That's right. Bribing is working. It's great.
I got to be honest, though. I said this on the show. I cannot get a mug with my mug on it. It just feels weird.
Yeah. All right, putting you on the spot. Where is it? Where's the mug?
It's currently in my locker. Oh, we have lockers, and it's unlocked, by the way. I've never purchased the lock. In my locker, I have pens. I keep my headphones. I've got the coffee mug, and that's about it. Granola bars. I got granola bars in there.
Somebody's going to get a Ref the District JP mug regifted during Christmas time. It's going to be the Junkies Christmas party. It's going to be like what is it, White Elephant, right? Where he's just like you pass the gifts around.
I'll try and use it. Big Washington Nationals, like another freebie, souvenir cup, and I fill that up with water every morning for the show. The coffee mug, it's smaller, but you know what? Tomorrow I will do it. How about that?
All right, we're gonna hold you to it. We watch it.
You know, Stoner never misses an episode. He's always there, so he will call you on it. He's gonna flame you for that one.
Hey, so I gotta be honest. In your intro, you talked about send comments, feedback on a Wizards preview. Tell me the interest. What are your expectations in terms of that? Do you believe there's buzz on this team? Because when you said that, I was like, I don't know how many people are going to comment on that one.
That's the first question I got.
That is the first question we're going to ask you is the expectations on this. I think because you asked me, I'm going to go ahead and respond to it, and then I'm going to flip it back to you. But I do think that there is some genuine interest in some of the younger players Washington has. I think fans still like Rui. I think some people are expecting Denny when he comes back to be maybe a little bit of a better player for this team. I do think people were disappointed in the Beal transaction. And I think a lot of people aren't really happy with Washington's draft pick, but it's the NBA draft. After the first four, it's really a crapshoot from there. So I think if the team starts winning, if they're competitive, kind of like Atlanta was a couple of years ago, there'll be some buzz. But if it's like the past few seasons where there's not been much, then I think that people will just passively engage with content. So, but where do you stand with the Wizards? What do you think? What are your expectations for them this year?
You know what's funny? My expectations are they can be a playoff team. Bottom of the end, bottom of the, probably not even, probably a play-in, to be quite honest. Mm-hmm. But I've been reading some of these previews, and they've got the Wizards is like the 13th best team in the Eastern Conference. And I'm wondering where they come up with that. And what I'm speculating is that they're thinking no chance Beal and Porzingis stay healthy together. And that's probably realistic based on what we've seen here the last couple of seasons. I do think if they're able to stay healthy, we weren't able to see Beal and Porzingis together. We saw Kuzma last year. those 3 players, that's a nice core. And I like what they did in the offseason, bringing in a point guard. I'm not saying they're going to be great, but when healthy, I think they can be a competitive team, float around 500 level, maybe a couple more wins above 500. But that's assuming they're all healthy. And the reality is, and I think this is why they're down in a lot of these previews, ranked 12th, 13th, whatever, is most people probably don't expect Porzingis to stay healthy the whole season. And can we really expect Bradley Beal to stay healthy the whole season? I don't know. If you're able to get all of that, then I think they can be much better than they've been. But betting on Porzingis is almost like betting on Steven Strasburg, and we know where that goes.
So what's your thoughts on the whole Beal signing of bringing him back for that huge deal in the offseason?
I didn't love it. I didn't love it. I think he's a very good player, but he's not, and he's shown it. He's not a player that can carry a team on his back and make them a winning team. He's not one of the top 10 players in the league. He might be in the top 20. To give him that kind of money, it seems like it would really hold your organization and franchise back. That said, I don't know if you've been following the contracts of some of these players. Like, there are guys that get like $25 million deals that do nothing in the league. Like,
right.
It's crazy the money that there is in the NBA. So, maybe they can work. Like I said, if Beal can return to his form from 2 seasons ago, and you get a healthy Porzingis, maybe you have to give him rest days. You can get him on the court for 65 games, and Kuzma gives you what he did last year. Well, now all of a sudden the team is heading in the right direction. Are they a team that can compete for a championship? We all know that they're not. But maybe they're a team that can get in the playoffs, and then if you're able to add to it, get lucky in a draft, or maybe pull off some sort of free agent deal, then you can keep taking steps forward.
You mentioned the draft. It's kind of weird. They drafted Johnny Davis out of Wisconsin, Big Ten Player of the Year. You don't really hear much coming out of Wizards camp right now. Is there a reason behind that? Because they went and got a bunch of guards in the offseason to pair with that, or is he just not ready to be contributing right now, you think?
I think there are 2 reasons. Number 1, he's not that ready, especially offensively. Number 2, he's really a 2 guard, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do? He's got to take minutes from Bradley Beal?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, he's just not going to be in the rotation that much. The starting lineup, I would imagine, we had Wes Unseld Jr. on the show today, and he was like, I don't want to reveal the starting lineup. I think they're going to start Porzingis as center, and they're going to go with Rui and Kuzma, Beal, and Monte Morris, right? And then they've got all these guys off the bench when healthy that they've drafted, Denny and Kispert, and then they've got Barton, and where is he? He's probably the 10th or 11th man, right? So they're going to maybe play the long game with him, and hopefully he develops and he can be this combo guard who can dribble the ball up the court, play a little, point guard for him, get some minutes at the 2. They apparently like his defense, but I don't think he's going to be an impact player this season. I don't think he's going to be on the court that much. Wes Unseld Jr. said as much on our show. I don't think he's going to get many minutes. And the other part is, when he was on the court in the preseason, I don't know if you paid attention to the preseason. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. His first 2 games, if you combined his shooting in the box score, he was 0 for 12.
Yeah,
wow.
Disastrous.
I know he was already out on him in the summer league. Like, if you watch his offensive, it's kind of limited. He's kind of an old school throwback, mid-range guy. He's athletic, but not super athletic. They like him because from his freshman year to his sophomore year, he really had a jump in statistics. He did become that Big Ten Player of the Year. He can play defense. He can rebound. He seems to be a well-rounded player, but he's not going to be somebody that's going to pop as a rookie.
That's wild. Number 10 pick too. So
yeah, well, it's going to take some time. Washington has a few of those.
Modern day NBA.
yeah.
You better have top 3 picks. Like, once it hit like Jaden Ivey in this last draft,
That's what I said there in the beginning, right? After the first 4 picks, it's really just a crapshoot. You might hit the lottery and get somebody who's really good, but more often than not, you're just going to get a role player there. And that's what Washington has on the bench. You mentioned a couple of those. Fans are really expecting, Rui, Denny, and even Kispert to really contribute heavily this season. Where do you stand with them? Kispert's obviously just going into his second year. Rui, we've been waiting for that jump for every year. We've just been waiting for that jump.
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to be the year for that? And is Denny going to show what he does with the Israeli team, or what are we going to see from these players, these role players with Washington?
All right, let me start with Denny because I think he has the most upside. When I first saw him play, I remember it was rookie season, one of the preseason games. I called him Luka Light. Like, I thought he was going to be dribbling the ball up the court, be kind of a point forward. I was wrong. He can be a good contributor, but he just doesn't shoot well enough. A lot of these guys on the Wizards don't shoot well enough. He's fine. When it comes to Rui, no, I don't expect this big jump. I would be stunned. I think you kind of know what a guy is. He's had a couple of seasons. He's a good player. On many teams, he would be a starter. On this team, he'll be a starter. But it just doesn't look like he's going to be a star. I could be wrong, but generally you see guys pop much earlier, right? So he can be a contributor. And then Kispert, the best shooter of the bunch, but he just appears to be a role player, bench player. They're kind of all similar to me in that they're all drafted in the same range. They're not difference makers long-term, but they can be contributors.
I'm going to push back just a little bit on the Rui and the Denny one, because everything that's coming out of camp for Rui is that he has made that jump in the preseason in Japan when they went on tour in Japan. Is that he has made that
to what? When you say a jump to what? Is he going to be
not a superstar
on the court? Is he going to be, some all-star? A jump to what? 2 more points a game?
A jump to a 15-10 guy.
Well, that's kind of what he is. What has he been like?
He's like I think he's like a 10-5 guy right now. He gives you like 10 points and 5 rebounds. I think you're going to see a huge jump, and I think you're going to see another level of Denny as well. If you look at Denny's shot from when he was in his rookie training camp to his shot now, it's completely different. It's an NBA shot now as opposed to what it was before when he was real slow and getting it up. And
is it going in?
Going, yeah.
Is it going in?
Yeah. They had this little shooting contest at the end of practice. Okay, it's practice and all this other stuff, but it was a quick 1 minute with the 3 guys, with Kuzma, Denny, and Rui.
And he had defense in front of his face the whole time, right?
They were all like 18 of 20.
Yeah,
you can tell which one of them has drank the Kool-Aid here.
Okay.
Hey, I'm just telling you that when those 2 make another jump,
another jump was the first jump.
Yeah,
I like Denny there, Trav. So
I know, and I know. You know that.
So speaking of that interview that you had with Wes Unseld Jr., he talked about how he went to a lot of the guys' hometowns over the summer. He went out to Latvia. He went to all these different places to kind of meet with the guys and kind of develop a bond. Do you buy into any of that how that would develop a bond between players and coaches? Or do you think that's just kind of like a little bit of lip service to make it look good?
I don't know if it's lip service. I buy into it a little bit. There's no doubt when you play basketball, chemistry is important.
Yeah.
But what's even more important is talent, right?
Yeah.
So we talk about jumps. The Clippers, for example, they're going to make a jump this year. Not because their coach met with the players in offseason. It's because they're going to get Kawhi Leonard back. Okay?
Right.
So the Wizards, maybe they make a little jump because they're actually going to get Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis together. The problem is, and I don't have the standings in front of me, but if we went through the standings right now and we went through the Eastern Conference teams, let's start with the team that was in the finals last year, Boston. They're better than the Washington Wizards. The Milwaukee Bucks are better than the Washington Wizards. And you just kind of keep going down. The Sixers are better than the Washington Wizards. And then there are other teams who maybe last year were similar in that kind of same bucket as the Wizards, like the Atlanta Hawks. Well, they got DeJounte Murray, so they're going to be better. And there are just so many teams, I think, that are ahead of them that they really, if they play their best, they're going to compete for the bottom of the playoffs in the Eastern Conference.
That's fair.
Now, while we're talking about the coach here, this is going to be Wes Unseld Jr.'s second year with the team. First year, I feel like it was a little bit disappointing. I think a lot of fans probably had their expectations set too high. Where is he sitting in with this? You know, I doubt that he's in the hot seat, but a lot of people want to see change happen. There's going to be some limitations with the roster, but a lot of people believe in Wes Unseld Jr. Where do you stand with him, and what are kind of the expectations for him as a coach in his second year?
I think he's a solid coach. He doesn't have a winning hand. You know, like you think about it, just to flip sports. Is Matt LaFleur a great coach, or did he take over a team that was ready to win a ton of games that has Aaron Rodgers at quarterback? So if Wes Unseld Jr. had been hired by the Milwaukee Bucks, I bet you his record would be a whole lot better. He's coaching Giannis and Middleton and Holiday. You know, he took over a team that had some turnover, right? The season before, if I recall, is the Westbrook season. And I'm a fan of the Westbrook season. It was a lot of fun. My son's got a Westbrook poster with the Wizards in his room. It's killing me because then they moved on from him. It wasn't that team was going to compete for a championship, but the second half of the season, they started to get on a roll. Well, they did a reboot. They bring in a new coach. And there are a lot of guys who we've just talked about who are people that they've drafted that are good players, maybe role players, but they're not stars. So they have one star in Bradley Beal. They made a trade, brought in Kristaps Porzingis. They've got Kyle Kuzma. He's all right. He's a pretty good player. You know, on the show, we had an argument because I said he's kind of a dime a dozen player because there's so many guys in the league, if you actually look at it, that can put up between 15 and 20 points a game. That's commonplace. The way you get better and get to a next level is when you have a Ja Morant. You have like these true difference makers. And the Wizards have a lot of guys that we kind of like. We're fans. Yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. He's pretty good. Well, I think everything has to work perfectly if you just have a bunch of pretty good. You don't have like these true studs. So maybe you make an argument that Beal is a stud and Porzingis has been he's an all-star one time. But I'll be honest, watching Porzingis last year, I like his game, but he actually isn't the best of three-point shooters when you break it down. Like,
yeah, not good.
Years ago, to see somebody that tall shoot threes, it's like that's impressive. But his shooting percentage isn't that great. So I'd like to see what happens this season. You know, I do think they've got potential in like these pick and rolls with Porzingis and Beal. How do you defend it? It's kind of almost been a while since last year Beal wasn't scoring like he did. So it's almost been a while since we've seen Beal attack the basket. And we'll see what it means for him to have a point guard. I'm being very long-winded, but my expectations aren't great for the Washington Wizards.
So, JP, real quick, my last question. Assuming everything hypothetically goes well, everybody's healthy, Beal, Porzingis, Monte Morris, everybody. You said play-in tournament at the beginning of this interview. How far do you think the Wizards could make it into the postseason, barring no injury and no setbacks?
I mean,
based off talent
like
alone.
Circle Wizards run, maybe somehow they were able to get into the second round. But I doubt that because we just said it. Are they better than the Celtics? No. Are they better than the Bucks? Are they better than the Sixers? Are they better than the Hawks? Like, go down the list of teams. You know, they could be better than the Knicks. They can be better than, you know, some of these bottom feeders like Orlando. But where do you have them? If you rank teams in these
I have play in and then first round exit just based off talent alone. Like you said, we don't have that difference maker. We don't have that person that to give the ball to take over the game we need to. We don't have that anywhere on the Wizards. It's not Bradley Beal. It's not Porzingis. So I just think I'm with you. It's a bunch of.
I think that Beal can be that guy. If you remember years ago with Wall, I felt like Beal was more of the closer because Wall didn't have an outside shot. So look, they're banking a lot on how our team's going to defend Porzingis and Beal together. Yeah. And hopefully they have enough shooting. So if you've got Beal and Porzingis running pick and rolls and you got Kuzma on the outside, theoretically there'll be more space. I don't know enough about Monte Morris. I don't know if you've seen him a lot. Like, he just seems like an okay player.
He's not bad. He is an upgrade at the point guard position. I will say that he is.
That was a very small bar to jump over.
I know, but it's an upgrade.
Keep an eye on DeLon Wright too, the backup point guard. He's a dog. He's a baller.
Yeah, but yeah, I just remember what's his name? Will Barton and Monte Morris from Denver with Jamal Murray. They made the playoffs down there in the bubble. That bubble year, they were really good down there.
Yeah, in the conference finals.
That's why Morris is here. He's got that familiarity with the coach. And JP Flaim is here to talk with us on some Washington Wizards. But we're going to let JP go. We appreciate you jumping on here with Ref the District. And we'll definitely have to have you on as the season progresses. Maybe they surprise everybody, and there's lots of good content for us to produce for the Washington Wizards.
And you never know. They've made trades, I think, the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how the roster, do they stick with the roster the whole season, or do they shake it up trade deadline? They have been shaking it up, it seems like, season after season after season here the last several years. If Kristaps can stay healthy, by the way, what's the likelihood? Let me ask all three of you guys. If you had the percent chance that Kristaps Porzingis plays 70 games at 80,
I'm taking the under.
Yeah, he's not playing 70.
60.
I think probably around 60.
Yeah,
I'll take the under still.
5 to 60.
Yeah, I think 60 is the number.
That's a big thing. And then how about Beal?
Who knows?
No, I think Beal's going to be a 70 to 75.
I have higher hopes that Beal plays 70.
They can be competitive. But I think Vegas looks at what's happened the last couple seasons. I think the reason why the Wizards aren't as highly regarded is because you're banking on these guys being healthy, and they don't have a track record of 80 games.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair. Well, you can catch JP with the Junkies in the morning on 106.7 The Fan. Stay with us. We've got some more Wizards content coming right up now.
Ref the District is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best at below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Go to manscaped.com and use the code REF, R-E-F, to get 20% off and free shipping on your next order at manscaped.com.
Thanks for sticking with us. We are welcoming to Ref the District for the very first time, Ben Mahitch from Bullets Forever. We appreciate you jumping on with us. Give you that round of applause. I hope I said the name right the first time. I don't know if I got it right that time.
You crushed it. It's getting better every time you say it. So
that's good, because normally he can't pronounce people's names very well.
He's terrible.
That's very good to hear. We love it here. Thank you.
Well, Ben, we appreciate you jumping on here on Ref the District to talk about our beloved Wizards. Yeah. What are your expectations for them this season? They've re-signed Beal. They've got the unicorn. That's going to be really the first time we're seeing that tandem together. Johnny Davis, maybe not going to see some play time, but they've picked up Morris, who Wes Unseld Jr. knows. So where are you putting the Wizards this year?
See, I was listening to Bill Simmons talk about the Wizards recently, and he said if this was 3 or 4 years ago, the Wizards might finish 5th in the Eastern Conference. But this is probably the most loaded the NBA, the Eastern Conference, has been within the last 10, 15, maybe 20 years. So the Wizards are sort of dealt just a difficult hand, as are so many teams in the NBA. And the peculiar thing about the Wizards is, unlike so many of these teams, they're sort of without a direction. A lot of teams are either contending or competing at a high level, or they're bottoming them out so they can get a Victor Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson. And the Wizards are doing this weird dance between the two, where they're hoping to compete enough and maybe eke out a 7th or 8th seed, when in reality, there's so many good teams in the Eastern Conference this year, they may not even be able to do that. So they're sort of stuck in purgatory, so to speak. But you never know. Every year there's a team that exceeds expectations. There are teams that get hurt, unfortunately, that don't do as well as they expected. So, I mean, the Wizards could be one of those teams that end up playing a lot better than they expected. I mean, they have the talent on paper. You just mentioned Bradley Beal is back. Kristaps Porzingis is healthy. And when he's healthy, he's an elite level player. And people forget this because he hasn't been healthy throughout the course of his career. But you called him the unicorn. We have the other guys in the league that are coming in sort of in that same mold. But Porzingis is still a really unique talent. And those 20 or so games that he played in Washington, he played at an all-star level. This might be a hot take for you guys. Maybe I'm overstepping. He might be the best player on the Wizards when he's healthy. When he's healthy,
Careful,
I think
Ben.
he could be the most impactful player. He's in New York, he's one of the best two-way bigs in the league. He's an elite level shot blocker when he's healthy, and he's an elite level floor spacer for his size. So if you can do those things for 65, 70 plus games, if the Wizards are lucky enough, it's an all-star, all-NBA type of talent.
So Ben, that's funny you say that because this offseason they went out and got, I feel like, a bunch of guards. I was wondering if you're feeling the same way with the additions of Monte Morris, Will Barton, Delon Wright. They already have Corey Kispert. Bradley Beal's back. They drafted Johnny Davis. Does it seem like they have a lot of guards? I know they were talking about mentioning they want to bring a 3-and-D type look to that, but I just feel like they didn't do enough in the front court to go along with Kristaps down there. So how do you feel about that?
It's a really weak backcourt. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find a worse backcourt in the NBA in terms of depth there. Worst point guard rotation in the NBA by far. I mean, we're sort of still in the middle of the golden age of point guards. You got the Ja Morants of the world, Chris Paul still out there balling. I mean, there's Steph Curry, obviously. I mean, the list goes on, and the Wizards have Monte Morris. Right? He's a fine player and probably a backup for most teams. But if you go through that list, Wizards are probably 28th or 29th on that list in terms of starting point guards. That's a really rough spot to be. The Wizards don't need them to be much more than they are because Bradley Beal is going to dominate the ball. He's going to have the ball in his hands every single time up the court. And I think they're going to expect him to play that sort of point guard role. If Monte Morris can do what he did in Denver, guard the ball well, set the offense up, hit the open shot, then maybe that'll be enough. But in terms of just sheer talent, you mentioned they went out and got a lot of guards. None of those guys have really popped.
No.
Which is unfortunate.
Well, speaking of the front court, then that seems to be where the strength is, right? When you've got Porzingis and Kuzma, and then now you've got Danny and Rui, and if you consider them those guys a 3 or a 4. But I wanted to ask you about Rui. Now I've been kind of hyping him a little bit that it seems like he's taken this next step. It's only been preseason so far, but do you think he's ready to take that next step from everything that you've seen, or is this just kind of who Rui is?
Somebody has to do it, right? Somebody's got to do it. You look at the Wizards roster, Kyle Kuzma at this point in his career probably has another level to him, but he sort of is what he is. He's a really good role player on most good teams, right? Denny Avdia, there's plenty of potential there, plenty of growth to be had, but is he ever going to be an all-star? We're not sure yet. Rui, though, when you look at him, occasionally he'll flash that type of potential. I mean, he was obviously, I remember when he first got drafted and Scott Brooks said, all right, pump the brakes. This kid isn't Kawhi Leonard. But there is some of that to his game, right? That big 6'8" guy that can defend, that can hit the perimeter shot, that can go and get his own shot. And what I've seen from Rui in preseason that I've really liked is he's getting rebounds and he's going. A lot of guys his size don't do that, right? You kick it to the guard and you push. But the fact that he can get a rebound and push makes the life a lot easier for Bradley Beal and the rest of the guards, right? So I think the potential is there for Rui. I hope he gets the starting nod. Teams are sort of going away from small ball and are getting a lot bigger. And I think the Wizards have the potential to do that. And the beauty of the guys that you just mentioned, Kuzma, Avdia, Rui, they're all versatile. They can all sort of space the floor. They can all act as secondary ball handlers from time to time, secondary creators. But I think Rui, I think this is the key to Washington. If they're going to tap into the level of play that they want to and exceed expectations, it'll be largely because somebody all steps up. And I think Rui has the potential to be that guy.
Well, for him to step up would be quite excellent. And you kind of, this is a player-driven league. And, there was a lot of hope last year with the coach coming in that even if they didn't have the elite talent in Washington, that at least Wes Unseld Jr. was going to be able to close that gap on the coaching side. Things didn't pan out last year. This is his second year here in Washington. Where is Wes Unseld Jr. sitting for you as far as his coaching with the Wizards?
Well, Wes is going to be judged on his player development, right? This team isn't going to be winning a championship this year. They're not going to win one next year. It might be some time before they're in that type of competitive field. Let's see what he does with Denny Avdia, Corey Kispert, Rui Hachimura, Johnny Davis, how these players trend. they trended pretty well last year. Avdia looked a lot more confident than he did before. Rui, towards the end of the season, he was shooting the 3-point shot at a 40% clip. It's a really high level of shooting there. He got better. Daniel Gafford, I thought, got better at times.
We didn't mention him.
Right, we didn't mention him. And that's another guy who flashed potential. And I think if they continue to get better, I think that's where Wes Unseld Jr. is gonna earn his money. And I think, look, there's a learning curve for a rookie head coach there, and especially last year for his first year coaching a team, he had 6 or 7 guys on contract years. Some difficulties in the locker room that obviously ended up imploding the entire season. That's a lot for a rookie coach to deal with, really any coach to deal with, let alone someone who's never been a head coach before. But I think he's got a lot of room to really show his coaching acumen there. He's been around the league for a really long time, and Washington loved him because he's sort of like a basketball genius in a way. He loves X's and O's. He pays attention to detail, maybe sometimes more than the players even want him to. There were some murmurings in the locker room last year where they were like, well, the offense is way too complicated. Like you're overcomplicating things. And that could be true. I mean, it's first year head coach just trying to figure it out. But I think if he finds a balance of managing the players in the locker room with that good blend of his attention to detail, the Wizards might have someone here that could be the long-term, fix for that coaching that they've struggled to find for a really long time.
And to piggyback off that, do you believe that the signings of the Will Barton and the Monte Morris helped with that, since they were with him in Denver when they were like contenders in the postseason? Do you think that they were brought over to help him get more comfortable with this new team, or do you really think that they were actually the guys that they wanted?
Well, they've wanted Will Barton for a really long time, and I think they've liked Monte Morris for a really long time. But there's no question that the connection there helped, right? They needed a level of maturity and a veteran leadership that they lacked last year, and adding those two are going to help. Are they elite level talents? No. Are they going to help on the court? Some, sure. But I think they sort of round out the edges that the Wizards had last year, and I think they'll look like more of a professional basketball team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, do you think that there's been a lot of talk, at least, I mean, I just saw an interview with Kuzma, and he really kind of drove home the point that this team is actually, they're really close. All the guys are really close. They don't have the maybe a lot of the personalities that other teams do. Do you think that's just sort of talk, to say in the media, or do you really think that this team, at least from the outside looking in, has that tightness that you really want, the chemistry tightness from a team?
Gosh, I mean, I hope so. You look at the type of turnaround they've had. I mean, they made the playoffs 2 years ago. Brad Beal, Daniel Gafford, the only guys on the roster. Anthony Gill, forgive me, don't want to disrespect him, but only 3 players on the roster that were on that playoff team that was just 2 years ago. And then obviously they during the season last year, they traded Dinwiddie, traded Montrezl Harrell, traded Bertans. That's 3 rotation guys they swapped out. So they haven't had a ton of time to build that camaraderie. You look at the personalities on the roster, everybody seems pretty easygoing. They added Marcin Gortat to the coaching staff part-time during the preseason there. And I think that helped. He's a really easygoing guy. I think you'll see more of him in DC going forward. And I think they have a good blend of professionals, people who care about getting better. All the young players have been busting their butts from what I've heard. Denny Avdia has gotten better. Rui Hachimura has gotten better. So I think they have a good group of players who really care and I think are easygoing. I don't think you'll have too many reports coming from the Athletic this year about, issues in the locker room.
I'm going to piggyback off. I'm sorry, Nathan, real quick. Piggyback off of that, because the narrative that, I don't know if we formed it, but there just was a narrative out there that it seems like point guards that come to play with Bradley Beal don't really work out. And especially last year when he kind of handpicked Spencer Dinwiddie and it didn't work out. Is that narrative a real thing, that point guards that come here, they don't really mesh with Bradley Beal, or is it just something that it's just smoke?
I mean, John Wall worked out pretty well. Russell Westbrook, how's he worked out since he left DC, right? Yeah. I mean, he asked for that trade. I mean, he looked great, though, in Washington. He blended really well with that roster, with that young team. He blended really well with Bradley Beal, and he helped carry them to the playoffs. I don't think the point guard is an issue at all. It's the surrounding pieces. It's defining roles. Last year, the Wizards had no idea what the hell they were doing in terms of game to game. There'd be times where, Montrezl Harrell is starting a game, and then the next game he's playing 11 minutes, and it didn't work. Spencer Dinwiddie, where, he was asked to be a vocal leader, and he tried, and then that report came out where he was shot down. They told him, hey, man, This isn't you. Like we don't need your voice in the locker room.
Mm.
A lot of guys didn't know what sort of role they were playing.
Mm.
Obviously, having a full year of playing with each other, some of those trades I think are going to work out in the sense that these guys have been around the league 6, 7, 8, 9 years now. They sort of know what to expect. So I think you're going to have more of a cohesive unit this season. So I don't even know if it's like a point guard issue. It's more of just like a personality issue that they've dealt with.
Well, you kind of talked about Washington being big players last year in the trade at the trade deadline, and there's some mix and some kind of talks about that maybe happening again this year. What pieces does Washington need to be successful, like if they're searching for something, and what pieces do they have to give away?
It's a star-driven league, and they need stars. And I love the swing that they made last year for Kristaps Porzingis because it's a swing, right? I mean, odds are he's not going to play a ton of games. That's just history. But what if he beats the odds? And what if he plays 65, 70, 75 games this season? You're going to have a legitimate star on your team. The Wizards haven't had a ton of those. I mean, Russell Westbrook, when he played in Washington, it was like, I don't want to compare it to when Michael Jordan came, but I remember going to a Wizards game and everybody was wearing Russ jerseys. Everyone was wearing, the triple-double king shirts and whatnot. The Wizards need those type of players. It's a star-driven league. Do they have the type of pieces to land that player? I don't want to throw a hot take out there, but I've heard this. This isn't an idea I'm creating. Damian Lillard isn't a guarantee he's going to stay in Portland.
Bring him to the Bring him to the DC. That's hot right there.
Think about it. This is the type of player that the Wizards love. He's in his 30s. He's going to be overpaid. At some point, he'll bite him in the ass for trading for him. It's a no-brainer. It's a Wizards type of move. But for 2 or 3 years, you might have an amazing tandem in Bradley Beal and Damian Lillard. That's just a hypothetical that I've heard, and I'm not the first person to throw out there. So there's always disgruntled stars. Do the Wizards have enough to get that type of player?
I was going to say, who'd you give up right now for Dame Lillard, Ben? Let's go ahead and put that in the air.
I mean, anybody whose last name isn't Beal, truthfully.
Same.
How many players?
Everybody. I mean, they're whatever they need.
And are you including any draft picks?
Whatever it takes, it sounds like, yeah.
He's
not stopping.
Whatever they want, and you just say, "Is he named Bradley Beal?" No, then you can have him.
Well, you don't want to give away the whole house and just have Dame Lillard here with a bunch of nobodies, and then we'll be even worse than we are. So, like,
think about it. I mean, is there anybody on the Wizards roster besides Bradley Beal that will have a third of the career that Damian Lillard's had? I mean, chances are probably not. You need somebody
by default because he played with LeBron, but that's only about it.
He may not even. I mean, the thing is, the Wizards have a lot of guys who are probably great 6th or 7th or 8th men on good teams, but you can't win a ton of games with those players. You need somebody, 3 or 4 guys that would get rotation minutes on the competitive, really good basketball teams. I'm not sure the Wizards have those guys. Again, we might be surprised. Maybe Denny Avdia makes that jump. Maybe this is the year Kyle Kuzma puts it all together because we need more than 15. This is the thing with Wizards fans. He'll give you 10 great games and everybody's like, well, max him out, right? And then what do you get? You get another bad contract on your roster. Wizards need the consistency from these guys, and maybe they have those guys in the roster, but I've yet to see it.
I like it. That hot take was dope.
The couple nice hot takes there. Ben, we appreciate you jumping on here, talking some Wizards. Let's get one last question here. How far the team stays healthy? You get KP for the 70 games. Beal stays healthy as well. The West, develops the team the way maybe one of the, Kuzma, Rui, Denny makes that jump. How far does Washington make it this year?
So Philly's better than them. Milwaukee's better than them. Boston's better than them. Cleveland's better than them. Toronto's probably better than them. Brooklyn, you can sort of pencil in there too if they just care about basketball this year. 6 teams.
You say Cleveland? Cleveland's better than
Cleveland. I said Cleveland.
I said Cleveland. Yeah.
16.
Miami.
Oh, Miami.
There you go.
Yeah.
So like I said, this is a really, really deep Eastern Conference. This is a team, boy, like you said, all healthy. They all put it together. You get some jumps from these young players. 5 years ago, they're a 4 or 5 seed.
Mhm.
This year, they might be an 8 seed. That might be the best they can do.
We'll
Oh,
take it.
now I'm all bummed out. Now I don't even
Why, bro? What seed were we last year?
13.
There we
Or
go.
12?
We'll take an 8 seed this year.
That's right.
Moving on up, if everything goes right, we'll see. We'll see where they end up standing. Maybe we'll have Ben back on throughout the season, kind of catch up with him and how things going and how the Wizards are doing. Ben, we appreciate you. Where can our viewership catch you?
Yeah, you can catch me on Twitter, Ben Mahitch NBA. I still post some, Wizards musings every now and then. You can read our stuff at bulletsforever.com.
Excellent. Well, Ben, thank you. You've been watching Ref the District. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe button. And until next time, be a fan. Hey, thanks for watching us here on Ref the District. While you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Check out one of these other videos here as well. We create lots of great content. Of course, we're live every Wednesday at 7:30. Things get pretty heated there as well. Until next time, be a fan.